Nicholas Consonery specializes in Chinese politics and economic policy at the Eurasia Group, which provides research on political risks to investors and corporations. He joins us today from Washington. Nicholas, what exactly are you anticipating from the Chinese? Because for most of us, this seemed like an isolated fight. Google versus China on the issue of free speech and, to a degree, spying. It sounds like you're anticipating much more from China.
Well, hi, Eric. I'm glad to see you guys this morning. Yeah, listen, I think the story about Google is not that this is a one-and-done incident where, you've got a kind of a tiff between Google and the Chinese government. I think this is actually really reflective of a broader trend in China, especially in relation to high technology industries. It's very clear that, since 2005, 2006, Beijing has really entrenched on this push for indigenous innovation in Chinese firms. And basically, the intent behind that indigenous innovation policy is to make their domestic companies more competitive, and especially in the high technology space. So what you've seen since 2006 really is a rapid acceleration of state support in China for Chinese companies. And that's, having a direct impact, I think, on the competitiveness of U.S. companies in the high-tech space. So I think that's really what you're seeing play out here. Again, it's not really just a Google incident. It's a broader trend that Google got caught up in.
And Nicholas, I don't want to imply that the Chinese didn't have their own innovation, because of course they did, but is this part of their overall strategy? In other words, invite Western companies in, let them get set up, let them do business, kind of clear the way, cut their teeth, and then let Chinese competitors take over the space?
Well, I wouldn't put it in terms of a strategy quite like that, because I do think that the Chinese government recognizes that the Chinese economy benefits enormously from the high-tech and innovative capabilities that the Western firms do bring to the picture. And not only that, but they drive a tremendous amount of job growth. So China's economy has benefited a lot from foreign direct investment. And I think the leadership kind of recognizes that they still want to be able to do that. At the same time, they want their firms to be more competitive, and that's exactly what you're seeing play out here. I think the perfect situation for China is one where you've got a blend of, the Western firms and the Chinese firms competing against each other in the China market and globally. But right now, I think in a lot of ways, the Chinese firms aren't quite competitive enough yet, even to be at a comparable level. That's absolutely the case. So I think that's what the government is trying to accomplish here, is a kind of parity between the Chinese firms and the Western international firms.
Nicholas, with about 30 seconds to go, is that what Western companies are going to have to get used to, this idea of technology transfers of expertise? You're really just going to have to cede China in order to do business there?
I think that a lot of firms in the high-tech space are already coming to terms with this reality, and that's what you're seeing play out with Google and with this indigenous innovation policy. It's very clear the government wants the high technology to come into the country, and a lot of U.S. companies especially are hesitant to do that. And I think that's what you've seen play out over the course of the past couple years, is that the companies want to have the manufacturing facilities, some preliminary research and development in China, but keep the core IP in the U.S. And so I think that's going to be the struggle for companies moving forward, is whether or not and to what extent they move some of their core research and development into China. That'll be the big question.
Nicholas, thank you very much. Nicholas Consonery of the Eurasia Group joining us this morning on Google China.